This all happened because Millie likes to speak out of her ass. Literally. For the first couple days, she'll be like, let's go to a strip club. You know, Millie says things that she doesn't truly really mean sometimes. But Nina, who is a woman that makes things come true, okay? So, one of the lunches where Millie was like absent, Nina looks at Reimu and I, and she was like,
Girls, how would you feel if I took all of you to a strip club? Do you think Millie would be uncomfortable?
I looked at Nina, I was like, let's do it. And Reimu was just like, yeah, let's do it. And Nina was just like,
let's surprise Millie.
You know, she made sure to ask us beforehand if we were comfortable. And in my mind, I was just like, well, this is what you get for mentioning it, so let's go. So we went to an all-girls strip club. Nina purposely set the time to like afternoon instead so that it would be less people. Nina is so considerate. Mom like grabs Millie under her arm and you know, they're walking super fast and Nina seems very excited for, you know, who know what reason. And Reimu and I are just kind of giggling in the back like hee 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 ha ha ha. And then we entered the strip club. Immediately Millie sees like a poster of like this naked woman and she's like, what lunch this? Oh, what's happening? You know, like she does her like Filipino accent every time she gets panicked, like what is happening? And I'm just like laughing my ass off. So as soon as we enter, there's this like super intimidating bodyguard, and he was inside, by the way, okay? He had like sunglasses inside, he was wearing a suit, and he was like, ID. And I'm like already really scared. I'm like, who the f is this guy? So I try to reach into my purse and look for my ID and I show him. And then he just let us through. So we finally sit down. So there was like this stage and they had like poles. And then like some of the girls would go on the stage and kind of start dancing, and then eventually they'd take off their clothes. You know, Nina would be trying to have a conversation with all of us, just talking about like our day, and then I'd kind of be like, and then when they take off their clothes, I'd be like, And then Nina would kind of notice that. She'd be like, Enna, you're really looking. And I'm just like, I mean, there's like a pair of titties like on the corner of my eye. Like, am I supposed to ignore that? Like, I don't really see titties that often besides my own, you know? And Nina was like, have you ever seen anyone else's titties besides your own? I was like, well, I've seen my mom's and Babu's one time. After I said that, Nina would just basically tally up how many more titties I saw. So like, when a new girl came on stage, Nina will look at me and be like, Enna, that's like your 4th pair of titties. And then another girl would go on stage and Nina would be like, Enna, you've seen your 5th pair of titties. How do you feel? And at some point, you know, I was just like, okay, mom, we get it. Like by the 7th or 8th pair, like we can stop counting now. So mom ordered some champagne because we were celebrating our 2nd year and we wanted to be like, woo, Ethyria strip club. And I was just like, woo, yay. We had like a glass. I was already feeling low-key kind of tipsy because for some reason, as soon as I drink alcohol. Oh, it's also because we didn't eat anything before. So like the alcohol kind of like hit me pretty fast. Yeah, so then like the strippers, like 2 strippers, they were really cute. They came around our table. I could tell that they were old too. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know they were not in their 30s. I thought I looked at them. Like it was really dark, but then you know when they came up close, I was like, oh yeah, you at least like 40 or something. But you know what? That's fine. I mean, like, damn, good for you. I would not have that sort of body at the age of 40. So like at the age of 40, they literally looked like they had the body of like a 20-year-old, and I was just like, damn, congratulations. Well, yeah, these 2 strippers came. I think one of them was a senpai, and the other was more of a kohai. She seemed a little bit more like eager. And then the senpai was a little bit more like numb to everything. So Nina paid for like each of us to have a dance, which means that like we would be sitting there and then the strippers would dance on us. Reimu and Millie got the kohai and I got the senpai. And I was low-key just like, why do I get the senpai? Like, I don't want the more experience when I really haven't experience in talking to people. Like, how can you expect me to handle somebody who has max experience in something like this? I was just like, can I have the amateur one too? Like, what the f? I think Millie's reaction was the one that surprised me the most because I felt like Millie would have a similar reaction to me. Like, we'd be like, oh my god, what's happening? But Millie was like really positive. Millie was just like, oh my god, you're so inspiring. Like, I think it's really great that you're so confident about your body. It's very empowering as a woman. And this kohai was just dancing on her like sexually. And like, thank you so much. I love that you said that because we as women have to be confident in what we're given because there's just so much against us in this world. And I was just like, well, please help! Help! I don't care if we're women. I don't wanna go. I was like, I'm sorry, women of the world. I love women, and you know, I love like female energy, but I gotta go. I'm sorry. And then like I look at my stripper, and my stripper's like,
You're a shy girl, aren't you?
I'm like, I mean, like, I don't know. I think I'm more like an anxious girl at this point. I'm fucking gonna go into a panic attack. I'm not gonna lie. Like, low-key, I wanted Millie to have like a really flustered reaction, and I would kind of be like, ha ha ha. I really did not expect to have like a stripper dance on me. I really thought that going into this strip club, we would watch people dance on stage, and then that's it. I didn't know that was a thing, okay? So like when that happened, I was just like, what the f? So her dance was very seductive, slow. It was like 2 times longer, you know. By the time the kohai was finished with Reimu and Millie, like my stripper was still fucking like, you know, putting her coochie in my face. And I was just like, okay. Like, I don't know. I was like looking down, and then if there's like a crack in between my stripper's armpits, I would look through the armpit straight at Reimu or Nina because they were sitting in front of me, and I just kind of like dissociate and just look at them and be like, you know, I was just like sitting there like really, really, really disassociating. And you know, like I felt like the stripper maybe wanted a little bit more reaction out of me, so she was really trying. She was like, you know, tucking my hair behind my ear. She was like, open your legs. She asked me to open them first, and I low-key was just like, I'm good. And then she just kind of like did it for me, and I was like, okay, good thing I was wearing pants, guys. I'm so happy that day I was wearing full-on jeans, okay? I was wearing like hardcore denim jeans, you know, like the cowboy that I am. And you know, I just felt like there was an extra layer of protection, you know. I don't know what she was gonna do. I was like, if she's allowed to touch me and like open my legs, then I don't know, like maybe she could like fucking like, I don't know, like is she gonna like be near my coochie or something? Because like I know the boundaries for you, but I don't know if you know the boundaries for me. So like she was dancing on me, and she was like,
Are you shy?
and I was like, yes. And then she was dancing a lot. She took off her bra, and there was like these massive, at least like D-cup tits right in front of my face. Like it was touching like my nose. Like her titty was like touching my nose, and I was just like, I cannot tell my father this. You know, I wanted to eventually tell my dad like, oh my god, yeah, ha ha ha, we went to a club, and now I'm just like, damn, this is something I have to keep a secret from my parents and for my future husband. Like I can't, I'm taking this to the grave, like holy shit. So like her massive titties were in my face, and I was just like, damn, what the f do I do? So the whole time I was sitting in my chair, I had my hands on the side of the chair, just gripping the chair, you know? And Nina and Reimu noticed that, and they were laughing at me. They were like, oh my god, Enna, you're like gripping the chair so hard. Like, you don't have to be that nervous. And I'm just like, no, this is contactless. I don't want to accidentally touch her and then get sued. And you know, the stripper lady, like, heard me, and she was like,
I really appreciate how respectful you are.
and I was like, oh yeah, you're welcome. While I was waiting for the time to pass with these massive tits in my face, she turns around and she takes off her underwear, and her butt and her massive D-cup butt like fucking is in my face, and then she turns around again, and she's like literally like on me. So, and she was pretty tall, so like I had this like really tall sexy lady on me, and I just didn't know what to do. I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening. I feel like I might be crushed mentally, physically, emotionally, I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm gonna die today. Then this stripper lady whispers in my ear. She legit was just like,
Do you like sex?
I looked at her, and I was like, without even like a second thought, I was like, I'm a virgin. Nina and Reimu heard it, and I think Babu too, and they laughed their asses off. And the stripper looked at me back, you know, still dancing, and she was like,
Oh, cool.
and then I gave this woman a look like, okay, now you're just being judgmental. What happened to like the fucking female energy and the body positivity, and then like women, you know, being with each other, like being hello? Was that all for show? Hello, do I have to pay an extra $20 for you to be like,
Oh my god, that's so great that like you are saving your body for like someone that you really trust.
and I was like, you fucking bitch. Like, yeah, I know what you're thinking right now. You know, I'm a fucking VTuber. I know what you're thinking. I see it all over your face. I see it on your titties. I see it on your coochie. Like, you're saying like, what the fuck? Why are you here? And then she kind of goes behind my ear again, and she's like,
Are you bi?
and I was just like, I'm about to say bye, you know, like bye. Like, I'm gonna leave this strip club. I don't know what I said. I really cannot remember. I was too like in an anxious state to remember all this. I think I said like, I don't know or something. And so she whispered in my other ear, and she was like,
Are you curious?
I think because my brain was mega coping, I was just thinking about Curious George the monkey. I was like, okay, yeah, this is something that's wholesome. Yes, I used to watch it as a kid. You know, I don't know what the I said. I looked at her, I was like, yeah, I don't really know what's happening. Like, I was a vessel that like half of my soul was out of the vessel, and then the other half that was still there was like experiencing something, but you know, because my entire soul was not there. And so I was like pretty much half dead and half alive, okay? Rainbow and Millie kind of looked like they had like the time of their lives, and I looked like I was about to have like a stroke. I'm not gonna lie, I was just like Nina was like, hey Enna, you should like engage with your stripper. Like, you can say things like, oh, you're really sexy, like I love the way you dance. And so like I was like, oh yeah, you know what, she has a point. Like, you know, I heard like Rainbow and Millie kind of being like, oh my god, you know, you're so good at dancing, you're so empowering. So I wanted to be sort of like that too in my own way. So I looked at my stripper and I was like, yeah, you're really sexy and your breasts are amazing. I was like, I don't know what the to say. Like, how do I say this? I was just like, yeah, also your dancing's great. And I gave her a thumbs up. And then she was just like, thank you, I really appreciate that. I was like, Eve, you're great. And she was like, thank you, Enna. And I was like, you're welcome. Nina sees all this, she's like dying. Rain was just like, Enna, are you okay? I'm just like, no. Eventually the senpai stopped dancing on me because time was up. You know, I was trying to like calm myself down, being like, oh, thank God it's over. And then Nina kind of reassured the stripper because I guess maybe my reaction wasn't good enough or something. But she was like, I just want you to know that she's always like this. She definitely enjoyed it. And you know, it wasn't a lie. Like, I did enjoy the experience. I think it was very interesting and it definitely like taught me a lot. It taught me that like I will never come back here again. But like, you know, Eve was great, a good dancer, beautiful breasts, beautiful booty. I don't really know if I can compliment Coochie, but I did see it and it was fine, you know. Nina was just being really reassuring to the stripper that was dancing for me. She's like, oh, don't worry, she's just really shy and, you know, she's kind of awkward like that. But you can tell that she really enjoyed it. And she's like, did you enjoy it? And I was just like, I don't know why, but like strippers, when they see that you're shy, they like really attracted to that, because eventually the Kohai stripper kind of was like touching me too, and she's like, you're a shy girl, aren't you? And I'm just like, okay everybody, I'm just gonna put it on my forehead right now, like don't talk to me please. Every single time those two passed by our table, they'd be like, hi shy girl, hi shy girl. And I'm just like, what is this harassment? So one of the like another stripper, so this was when Nina went to the bathroom. Another stripper that kind of was like roaming around, she came to our table and she was talking to us. And I remember what Nina said. Nina was like, oh, by the way, if strippers ever come to our table and talk to you guys, it's because they're trying to like get you to pay for a dance. So like when this stripper came to talk to us and Nina was away, I started panicking. I'm like, oh shit, she's trying to get us to like dance. Like it's gonna happen again. Her tits are even bigger than like Eve's. Like, oh my god, I'm not ready for H cup. Like, goodbye. Millie and Rainbow, they're like normal. I was just like, I'm sorry, I just know that you're here because you want to dance for us and it's gonna cost money. So I literally was just like, yeah, also I have no money. And so as soon as I said that, she left. It was so funny. The stripper was just like, oh, don't worry about it. And then she stood up, left. Then there was this other stripper that kind of came by. She was really like sweet. We really liked her vibe and personality. So eventually Nina was like, hey, do you mind like if we get a dance from you? Like, you know, at our table. And this girl was like, oh, sorry, I don't really do dances at the tables because I'm actually too like anxious. And you know, I didn't even know that like they could feel this way too. Like, I kind of thought like if you're in this sort of like job, you're really confident. But you know, it showed me that like there's a lot of different types of people here. It's all within their boundaries. So I was honestly like, I felt very reassured in some weird way. You know, I was like, oh my god, like I looked at her and I was like, I'm shy girl too. And she was like, oh. And then after I said that, she kept looking at me. She gave me like this look as if she was really trying to like seduce me. She would have conversations with Nina mostly, but then she would kind of look over at me and be like, and I'd be like, okay, bestie, yeah, sorry, I'm not going into that room with you. I mean, you're hot and you're beautiful, and you know what? I think I vibe with your personality a little bit more than Eve, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, sorry, I have no money. Also, I don't want to go to a private room where I don't have, you know, my support system with me. So yeah, she was just like, yeah, but if you want to dance in the private room, just let me know, okay? I'll be around. And then she looks at me again. And I was like, oh my god, like, damn. I might have been like the weakest link in the fucking group or something, and she probably sensed it. She probably was like, yeah, this one's a dumbass, and you know, this one will be really easy to catch. So that's probably why she kept looking at me, and I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, you think I'm weak, which is absolutely true. Please go away. I know I sound like I'm not enjoying it, but I did enjoy it. It was an experience, and I'm glad I got to experience it with like people that I was comfortable with, like Babu, Reimu, and Nina. That was kind of like obviously the wildest moments of the strip club, but then afterwards, like, we kind of were just like drinking and talking. We got a little bit emotional towards the end because, you know, Nina not being in Niji was a really hard hit, and you know, after that it was strangely very wholesome in a strip club, and it was just really funny. So that was my experience at the strip club. Enna's perspective.
Always wanted everybody to call me One-chan.
I'm gonna get demonetized.